Imagine waking up tomorrow. Your bank account still shows the same balance. Your salary has been deposited. Your investments are still there. Nothing has disappeared. And yet, nobody is willing to accept your money. The grocery store refuses to sell you food. The gas station won't take your payment. Your credit card stops working. The number in your bank account hasn't changed. But overnight, you've become poor. How is that possible? Because money was never the thing that made you wealthy. Trust was. Every single day, billions of people hand pieces of paper, plastic cards, or invisible digital numbers to complete transactions with complete strangers. Almost nobody stops to ask why this works. Why does a shopkeeper accept your money? Why does a bank promise to protect your savings? Why does a luxury brand charge $10,000 for a handbag that costs a few $100s to make? Why do investors hand billions to people they've never met? The answer isn't gold. It isn't technology. And it isn't the government. It's something far more fragile, something you can't touch, can't print, and can't buy. Trust. Trust built the first markets. Trust created banks. Trust built global trade. Trust created trillion-dollar companies. And when trust disappears, empires collapse, banks fail, businesses vanish, and fortunes evaporate almost overnight. So, how did something completely invisible become the most valuable asset in human history? And who is making billions by controlling it? This is the hidden business of trust. Imagine you're standing in a marketplace. Not today. 5,000 years ago. There are no banks, no governments, no police, no contracts, no lawyers, no money. Only people. A farmer has grain. A blacksmith has tools. A hunter has meat. Each has something the others need. But there's a problem. How do you trade with someone you've never met? How do you know they won't cheat you? How do you know they'll keep their promise? At first, humans only trusted people they knew. Family, friends, their own tribe. Trust ended where familiarity ended. And that made growth almost impossible. Because a village can survive that way, a civilization cannot. For cities to exist, for businesses to grow, for trade to cross continents, humans had to solve one of the biggest problems in history. How do you trust a complete stranger? That single question changed civilization forever. Slowly, humans began creating systems that replaced personal trust, reputation, handshake agreements, community leaders, then written contracts. Later, coins stamped by kings. Each invention carried the same hidden message. You don't know this person, but you can trust this system. And suddenly, trade exploded. People no longer needed to produce everything themselves. One person became a farmer. Another became a builder. Another became a merchant. Society became more productive, not because people became smarter, but because they learned to trust beyond their own families. Then something remarkable happened. Humans created perhaps the greatest shortcut in history: money. Most people think money created trade. It didn't. Trust created trade. Money simply made trust easier to transfer. A gold coin wasn't valuable because it was gold. It was valuable because everyone believed someone else would accept it tomorrow. That belief was worth more than the metal itself. Even today, the word credit comes from the Latin word credere, to believe. Think about that. Every loan, every mortgage, every investment, every credit card still depends on exactly the same thing humans invented thousands of years ago: belief. Trust didn't disappear as civilization evolved. It simply changed its form. From trusting people to trusting institutions. From trusting faces to trusting logos. From trusting kings to trusting banks. And eventually, to trusting numbers on a screen. But here's the question. What happens when that trust is placed in the wrong hands? Because history shows the world's biggest fortunes and its biggest financial disasters were both built on exactly the same foundation: trust. Imagine two companies. Both manufacture the exact same bottle of water, the same ingredients, the same machines, the same production cost. One sells for 20, the other sells for 120. How? The water didn't change. Your trust did. Every day, people pay more. Not because something is objectively better, but because they believe it is. That belief has quietly become one of the most profitable businesses ever created. Think about the biggest companies on Earth: Apple, Amazon, Visa, Rolex, Mercedes-Benz, None of them became valuable simply because they make products. They became valuable because billions of people trust them. When you buy an iPhone, you're not just buying a phone. You're buying the confidence that it will work. When you swipe a Visa card, you're not trusting a piece of plastic. You're trusting an invisible network that promises your payment will reach the other side. When you order something from Amazon, you haven't met the seller. You haven't seen the warehouse. You haven't inspected the product. Yet you still click. Buy now, because trust has already been built for you. This is why trust has become an economic asset. In fact, for many companies, their reputation is worth far more than their factories. Take luxury brands. A leather handbag may cost only a few $100s to manufacture, yet some sell for $10,000 or more. People often assume they're paying for superior materials. But if that were true, every expensive handbag would feel 10 times better. It doesn't. What customers are really paying for is certainty. The certainty that the product is authentic. The certainty that the quality will be consistent. The certainty that others recognize its value. Luxury brands don't simply manufacture products. They manufacture confidence. Banks operate exactly the same way. Walk into your bank tomorrow. Ask them where your money is. The truth may surprise you. Most of it isn't sitting inside a vault waiting for you. Banks lend that money to businesses, home buyers, and entrepreneurs. Yet millions of people sleep peacefully every night. Why? Because they trust they'll get it back. If everyone walked into the bank tomorrow asking for their money at the same time, even healthy banks would struggle, not because they failed, but because the entire system depends on confidence. The same invisible confidence powers another trillion-dollar market. The stock market. Every second, investors buy companies they've never visited, led by executives they've never met, based on reports they've never personally verified. Why? Because markets are built on trust. Trust in financial statements. Trust in auditors. Trust in regulators. Trust that tomorrow, someone else will still believe. This is why companies spend billions protecting something you can't even see. Their reputation. One scandal, one lie, one broken promise can erase decades of growth, because trust compounds. Just like money, the more people trust you, the easier it becomes to earn more trust. And eventually, trust itself becomes your biggest competitive advantage. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. If trust is this valuable, someone will always try to fake it. Someone will always try to steal it. Someone will always try to sell an illusion. That looks exactly like trust. And history shows some of the biggest financial empires ever built were nothing more than carefully constructed illusions. In the next chapter, we'll uncover how scammers, billion-dollar frauds, and even respected institutions learned the same secret. The fastest way to steal money is to earn trust first. How trust is stolen. Imagine someone walked up to you tomorrow and asked for your entire life savings. Would you hand it over? Of course not. Now imagine they don't ask for your money. They ask for your trust. They wear an expensive suit. Their company has a beautiful website. Thousands of people recommend them. News channels interview them. Experts praise them. Celebrities invest with them. Your friends tell you, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Now, would you trust them? This is where the world's biggest scams begin. Not with money, with belief. Because every successful scam follows the same invisible formula. Earn trust first. Take the case of Bernie Madoff. For decades, he wasn't seen as a fraudster. He was one of the most respected names on Wall Street. Banks trusted him. Charities trusted him. Celebrities trusted him. Even experienced investors trusted him. People believed their money was growing safely. Month after month, year after year, everything looked perfect. Until one day, it wasn't. The entire investment empire collapsed. Nearly $65 billion vanished. Not because someone hacked a bank, not because the stock market crashed, because the trust behind it disappeared. But Madoff wasn't unique. History keeps repeating the same story. In 2022, one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world, FTX, was worth more than $30 billion. Its founder appeared on magazine covers, spoke before governments, met world leaders. He became the face of the future of finance. Millions believed their money was safe. Then, almost overnight, everything collapsed. Customer funds had been misused. Investors panicked. Confidence disappeared. Within days, a company worth billions became bankrupt. Again, the first thing people lost wasn't money. It was trust. And perhaps the most frightening part is this. You don't need to build a billion-dollar company to steal trust. Today, thousands of scams happen every single day. Fake investment apps, phishing emails, deepfake videos, romance scams, fake charities, fake online stores. They all use exactly the same strategy. They don't convince your brain. They convince your emotions. Psychologists call this social proof. If enough people appear to believe something, your brain assumes it must be true. It's why fake reviews work. It's why influencer scams work. It's why pyramid schemes spread through families. Humans naturally trust what other humans already trust. Scammers understand this better than almost anyone. They create urgency. Only today. They create authority, recommended by experts. They create familiarity. Thousands have already invested. They're not selling an investment. They're selling confidence. And once confidence is sold, money follows naturally. But trust doesn't only disappear because of criminals. Sometimes it disappears because of fear. Imagine waking up to a rumor that your bank is about to fail. At first, you ignore it. Then your neighbor withdraws all their savings. Your coworkers do the same. News channels begin showing long queues outside bank branches. Now you face a decision. Leave your money where it is, or withdraw it before everyone else. Here's the terrifying truth. Even if the bank was completely healthy yesterday, if enough people stop believing in it today, it can collapse tomorrow. Economists call this a bank run. Not because the bank suddenly became poor, but because trust disappeared faster than the system could respond. This is why governments move so quickly during financial crises, not only to protect money, but to protect confidence. Because confidence is the real currency. And today, that currency is under attack like never before. Artificial intelligence can clone voices. Deepfakes can imitate world leaders. Fake news spreads across the globe in minutes. The question is no longer, can you trust people? The question has become, can you trust what you see? And that's exactly where the future of trust begins. There's an old saying in business, money can be earned back, reputation cannot. It sounds like a cliche, until you watch it happen. Imagine you've spent 50 years building a company, millions of loyal customers, thousands of employees, a brand recognized around the world. Then one morning, a single headline changes everything. Customers stop buying. Investors begin selling. Partners quietly walk away. Not because your factories disappeared, not because your product stopped working, but because people stopped believing. That is the true cost of losing trust. One of the clearest examples was Enron. In the early 2000s, Enron wasn't just another company. It was celebrated as one of America's most innovative businesses. Investors loved it. Employees admired it. Analysts praised it. Its market value reached tens of billions of dollars. Then investigators uncovered the truth. The profits weren't real. The success had been carefully engineered through deceptive accounting. Almost overnight, everything collapsed. Employees lost their jobs. Investors lost billions. Retirement savings disappeared. The buildings were still standing. The employees were still there. But the trust was gone. And without trust, the business had no value. The same pattern repeated years later with Wirecard. For years, it was presented as one of Europe's greatest technology success stories. Banks trusted it. Investors trusted it. Governments trusted it. Then auditors discovered something almost unbelievable. Nearly 1.9 billion euros that was supposed to exist simply didn't. It had never been there. Within days, one of Germany's biggest companies filed for insolvency. Again, trust disappeared first. The collapse came second. But losing trust isn't only a problem for giant corporations. It happens every single day. Think about a restaurant that receives reports of unsafe food, a hospital accused of negligence, an airline involved in repeated safety failures. Even if they fix the problem, customers often don't return immediately. Why? Because trust follows a different timeline than money. Money can move in seconds. Trust moves slowly. It grows through consistency. One honest action at a time. One fulfilled promise at a time. One satisfied customer at a time. But destroying it can take only a single mistake. This is why the world's biggest companies spend billions protecting something you can't see. Cybersecurity, customer service, quality control, public relations, compliance. These aren't just operating expenses. They're investments in trust. Because every major company understands one uncomfortable truth. Their most valuable asset isn't sitting in a warehouse. It's sitting in the minds of their customers. And perhaps nowhere is this more visible than in banking. Banks don't keep operating because they hold the most cash. They operate because millions of people believe their money is safe. The moment that belief disappears, people rush to withdraw their savings. That's a bank run. Ironically, the panic itself can create the very collapse people fear. Confidence doesn't simply support the financial system. In many ways, it is the financial system. Which raises an even bigger question. If trust has become the foundation of modern civilization, what happens when artificial intelligence makes it harder than ever to know what's real? Because the next challenge isn't rebuilding trust after it's lost. It's learning how to trust in a world where seeing is no longer believing. The invisible asset holding civilization together. At the beginning of this journey, we asked a simple question. What is the most valuable thing humanity has ever created? Not gold, not oil, not technology, not even money. Because every one of those things only has value if people believe it does. A bank is nothing more than a building. Until people trust it, a luxury brand is just a logo. Until people believe in it, a government is just an institution. Until its citizens have confidence in it. Even money is simply trust made visible. Take trust away, and the world's most powerful systems begin to collapse. History has shown us this again and again. Empires didn't always fall because they ran out of resources. Many fell because people stopped believing in them. Companies don't usually die when they lose products. They die when they lose credibility. Scams don't begin by stealing money. They begin by stealing confidence. Perhaps that's what makes trust so extraordinary. It cannot be printed. It cannot be mined. It cannot be manufactured in a factory. It has to be earned. Slowly. One promise at a time. One honest decision at a time. One fulfilled expectation at a time. And yet, it can disappear in a single moment. One lie. One scandal. One betrayal. Years of reputation. Destroyed overnight. But despite knowing all this, every morning, billions of people still choose to trust. We trust strangers to deliver our food. We trust pilots we've never met. We trust doctors with our lives. We trust banks with our savings. We trust businesses on the other side of the world. And increasingly, we trust algorithms to make decisions for us. Civilization doesn't run on concrete. It doesn't run on electricity. It doesn't even run on money. It runs on belief. Because every transaction, every contract, every business, every economy, and every nation depends on millions of people believing the same invisible promise. So the next time you tap your card, transfer money, buy a luxury product, or simply accept a banknote, ask yourself one question. What am I really exchanging? Money or trust? Because behind every trillion-dollar company, behind every financial system, behind every civilization, there is one invisible asset holding everything together. Trust. And perhaps that has always been the most valuable thing on earth.